Hi everyone, welcome to today's machine translation webinar, fast, precise, secure machine translation for the legal industry. It's 12 o'clock, just to make sure that we enable everyone to log in. We'll wait for just a few seconds to start the webinar and kick off. In the meantime, what I would like to do is to share with you that the webinar will be going on for the next 45 minutes, and then we will also allow some time for a Q&A session for both our panelists. Having said that, some housekeeping ruling before we fully start. Please keep yourself muted during the webinar, and then at the end of the webinar itself, we will move to the Q&A session. Use the chat for any question that you might have during the presentation. And then also, if we have enough time and anyone who wants to jump in live with their questions on camera to our panelists, we will also open that. Having said that, let's kick off and let's start this webinar on machine translation for the legal industry, fast, precise, and secure translations. Our panelists today with us are Victoria Kononova. She is the Customer Relations Manager at Tilde. Her main focus is on developing the international MT business segment within Tilde. Victoria is a trusted partner for any company looking to learn about machine translation or include new tools in their current translation processes. Victoria has advised companies in many sectors about the advantages of machine translation in optimizing the general business processes. Hi, Victoria. With us, we also have Paula Reichenberg, CEO of Hieronymus. Paula is the founder and CEO of Hieronymus, translations by lawyers for lawyers, a Swiss LSP specialized in legal and financial translations. She is a lawyer herself, so she knows well enough what we are talking about, and holds an MBA from INSEAD. In collaboration with Tilde, Hieronymus created Lex Machina, the first neuro-machine translation solution specialized in Swiss law. Hi, Paula. So before we fully start with some background and we go into details, Victoria has a sweet candy to share with you at the end of the presentation, at the end of the webinar. There's a special offer waiting for you. Just be patient and stay with us. Let's talk about languages to set up the mood and introduce a little bit of background in terms of languages. We talk about the European Union, one of the most unified regions in the world, but officially there's 24 languages in the European Union. If we have a look at the number of languages that are widely spoken in this region, this number even triples. And we talk about 80 different widely spoken languages in the European Union. Can you imagine that? When we talk about languages, when we talk about such a diversity, this from one side represents opportunities. On the other side, it also brings challenges, language challenges, in order to unify processes, in order to also unify societies, in order to smoothen multilingual elements in companies. So the question is English the answer? Probably yes, probably not. But with this question, I want to already introduce our panelists today, Victoria and Paula, to share a little bit of their background on this question. English, is that the question? Is that the answer? I would like to start with Victoria from the business side before we fully jump into the legal sector. From your experience, Victoria, what is your taking here?
Hi, everybody. Well, my experience has been quite cosmopolitan around many different countries in business and personal life, and I can truly tell you that English is not the answer. We are by now truly multilingual, but it is essential to preserve the language. It is essential for everybody to understand what they're talking about. So I believe in breaking language barriers and preserving the original languages.
And if we move to a very language diverse country like Switzerland, where Paula is based, I do believe that having that many official languages as you have in Switzerland, and the answer might be clear, but please, Paula, go ahead.
I love English, and English is a very useful tool, and it is almost becoming Switzerland's 5th official language, but not quite. And it's this not quite that makes all the difference. In the legal sector, English, of course, is getting more important because of international transactions. Mm-hmm. But remember that the law is not only for corporations; the law is also for the people. And people do not necessarily speak English, and the law is meant for them. They need to understand it. So when you're talking about the legal topic, then English is part of the equation, but it's not an answer. It cannot be an answer, especially as well because we're talking about civil law countries in continental Europe, and most of our very base when you talk about the law comes from Roman law, and that we share, but the English-speaking countries do not share that with us. So you're talking about a whole different system, terminology, and it's not always compatible with our notions, our concepts that are deeply ingrained in our legal culture. So yeah, English, yes, but not only, and it's not an answer.
And especially, I like the comment that you made that sometimes the level of command of English is not as high as desired or as expected. And when we talk about such a complex world like the legal world, it's very important to make sure that we understand absolutely everything. And then that's good. We will dive into those elements later on with the Hieronymus showcase and the particularities of Switzerland and processes and so on. So having said that, I'll leave the floor for Victoria to kick on and continue today's webinar.
Thank you, Ruben. Hi once again. As Ruben has introduced me before, I am a relationship manager here at Tilde, working with the business segment, including the legal sector. So before we dive into the legal side of things, just a little introduction about Tilde and who we are. We are one of the leading language technology companies out there, specialized in AI-powered solutions such as machine translation and speech technologies. We also have a translation and localization department in-house, where we have linguists and translators post-editing or translating from scratch. But it is essential to mention that all of our research and development is done in-house in collaboration with some leading universities out there to ensure that we tap into the know-how available out there in the world and provide most innovative solutions that are possible. So we try to stay ahead of competition and hand in hand with digitalization and innovation. Our clientele is split into 3 segments. We work with language service providers and freelance translators. We work with public sector, which is the government, public institutions, schools, hospitals, as well as the business segment, which is then split into industries like medical, legal, e-commerce, etc. Here are just some of our trusted partners around the world, like European Commission, Microsoft, Rail Baltica that is being currently built in the Baltic countries, and many, many more. It is important to mention that for several years in a row, we took first place in a World Machine Translation competition, which is Olympic Games for machine translation providers, and everybody participates there. And we came first, meaning that we really provide quality solutions, especially for complex languages. Now, for those of you who don't know, and many still don't, what is machine translation? Machine translation is a machine that essentially learns the language, learns the stylistic of the language, and learns how to speak it. So it's actually a human job that the machine is doing. How does it look like? So it is a platform, it is an interface where you can translate text, you can translate websites, you can translate documents of any format, any volume, and also enable communication tools in multiple languages. I will tap into that a little bit later on. But now let's shift towards the legal industry and why machine translation is essential for this specific segment. First of all, because of large translation volumes. Now, legal industry entails a huge variety of different documents, whether it's legislation, acts, contracts, proposals, agreements, you name it. These are usually large volume, complex documents in multiple languages that need to be translated accurately and fast as well. Also, processes and communications that take place in the industry are extremely complex, considering different stakeholders and parties that are involved in not necessarily speaking the same language. And you need to ensure that those processes are run smoothly. Everybody understands what they're talking about. There is no information lost, and our tools can facilitate that communication and make it as fluent as possible. And obviously global reach through a website. Now, if you are a law firm, probably the country you're based in has a lot of language minorities, if not multiple official languages. You want to make sure that you reach those audiences and you transmit your message to those communities to help them and to grow your business. And our solution ensures that you maintain your content of your website as fluent, as accurate as possible. And I'll dive into that as well a little bit later. Now, how can we help with all those elements that I just mentioned? We provide a translation platform that is a secure environment where your confidential information is not shared with anybody. Through this platform, you have access as a user or multiple users of your company, and you can copy and paste any text and translate it instantly. You can upload documents, already as mentioned, of any format, including PDF of any volume, with diagrams, with pictures, and have it translated with a click of a button. So instead of delegating, sending it out, outsourcing, waiting for it, paying a lot, you can actually do it yourself. Through the same platform, you can have access to multiple communication tools that you use, where you exchange important confidential information with your clients or third party involved in the process, ensuring that you all communicate in the same language. As already mentioned, access to the website translator. It is a very intuitive, very user-friendly tool where you can maintain your website, you can make changes to your content and enable it in as many languages as you want yourself as well. And also very important feature that is essential for this industry, terminology portals. So legal industry is a very complex industry and has a lot of different terms in different languages as well, and not everybody involved in the process or in the same law firm perhaps understand all those terms, or maybe understand correctly or know the meaning in different languages. Now, by implementing the terminology portal into your workflow, into your platform, you ensure that you stay on track, you know what you're talking about, and everything is translated and communicated correctly. And I will also go into this in a little bit more details. Now, what do you get out of it? What is the benefit for you? Well, first of all your communications, your processes are run smoothly and fluently. There is no information lost, and everybody understands what they're talking about, because a human mistake, a human error can cost money, you know, can disrupt a whole process. And in such very sort of precise and crucial industries like legal, you need to understand that information is everything. By using this tool and by using this technology and by actually, you know, going hand in hand with the digital era, you save time. You don't need to wait for those translations. You don't need to speak to somebody, like, you know, so everything is facilitated. Everything is instant almost. And obviously, you reduce your costs. You save money that you would normally spend on outsourcing and helping this multilingualism. Essential element as well is secure solutions and you know, confidential platform where your information is not shared with anybody. Often information that you upload and translate is extremely confidential, so we preserve that kind of confidentiality, and our trusted partners value that. And combining all those elements together, you obviously optimize your business processes, which in return boosts your overall profitability. And every firm and every business wants to raise their profits, and you need to you know, look not only at the income but also at the processes that are run in your organization, and translation and multilingualism is one of them. Okay, so now I will, if everything works smoothly, try and demonstrate how the platform looks like. So you have a general idea. Obviously, this is just the standalone solution with a generic demo, but a lot of our solutions are customizable, and we'll listen to every client and try to adapt ourselves and our solutions to their needs. So hence, a lot of technologies will look a bit differently. But this is how the general platform looks like. Obviously can be designed and changed with your logo and up to your standards. But through login here as a user, you access your secure environment. So nobody else and all this information is encrypted and protected. You can have as many users as you want in your organization. It brings you to this platform, to this interface where there's a number of tools on the top outline that I will go through one by one. Here, for example, on the left-hand side, you have the original language window where you can copy, paste, or type any text you want and have it translated on the right-hand side into, you know, German or English. Now, for example, I would want to, as somebody who's not familiar with the laws of and regulations of Latvia, I would want to read our legislation portal, but it's not normally translated into, you know, different languages. So I can just copy the URL here, and it will automatically bring me to the web page, which is in Latvian, and I can just have it instantly available in English and go through, you know, everything. So I can just read real-time news or real-time, you know, content in the language. Now let's take this PDF document, which is in French in this case, just an example of some legal document. You see there's a special structure, there's a special layout to the document, font, colors, whatnot. So often these contain diagrams, and we'll just drag and drop it to the field on the left and select a language combination, which in this case will translate it from French into English. Now, what the system will do, it will convert the PDF document here into Word document. And you can already download the converted source here if needed for example, any modifications. Now, the system is trying to preserve the stylistic as much as possible, but just in case, you have this option too. And once the document is translated, on the right-hand side, you have an option to download the translated document in these formats. Now, it's best to download it in a doc format so that you can go through it, look if everything is correct, and maybe do some modifications and then convert it into the PDF. But let's take a look how the document is translated. Now, as you can see, the stylistic and the font and the paragraphs have been preserved. So the system is trying to maintain the original structure, and the same works with diagrams, with tables, with pictures as well. And this is just a demo of an example. So now, if you are a translator in-house or you're not a translator, and you want to have access to an extremely easy and intuitive CAT tool, which is essentially a tool where you can make modifications to the translations that the system, the machine makes, you can go click on this tab here. And for example, I am a manager of a law firm. I will go here. I will choose a document I need to translate, like, I don't know, a contract. I will upload it here, drag and drop here, and then I will assign this document to somebody in the organization who will receive this document, and they will have this job assigned. So they'll have to go through the translations and the post edits. So let's just upload a random document from English into German. We'll translate it. And the system will take the original document and it will break it down into sentences on the left-hand side. So you can actually have the impact on the translation. Now you will go through those sentences and, for example, click on one sentence here, and you see on the right-hand side, the machine, the system, is giving you a suggestion of a translation. You would click on that, and it would automatically record it in your translated version on the right-hand side here. Now I'm going through this translation, and maybe something is not correct. Maybe there's like a letter that needs to be changed. I can make any modifications right there on the spot and just validate the result, which will then go into the translation memory of the system. So the system, the engine, the machine, the artificial intellect behind it will remember the translation, the modification that you made, and will learn from it as a human would. Now, the next time you would want to translate the same sentence, you would have two options on the right-hand side. You would have the suggested machine translation, and you have the translation memory. In this case, it's 100% match. So this way, if you're translating a similar type of document in one specific, subsegment of the law, I don't know, criminal law or family law, they're similar. So you don't have to, machine translate it every time. So you already have this memory, and the system is already fluent in your specific stylistics and your specific domain. And you can have those translation memories stored here and made available. They are private, but you can make them available to anybody who is using, sort of the same subdomain in your organization. So you can classify it. On the bottom here, you can see the progress that you're making with the document. Now, it is useful when you are measuring your business processes and you're optimizing them as well. Now, let's take a look at the next feature, which is the terminology feature I mentioned before. And we will highlight one specific word, in this case, let's say computer, and we'll see here on the term lookup on the right-hand side, it will come up here. And I can just look it up in the terminology database. Now, it will bring you and redirect you to our terminology database, which is linked to a Euroterm database, the largest database out there. And you can see your term here. And more importantly, you can create collections from your terms. So here, for example, let's take a look at one. I don't know if my screen is going dark for some reason. You can see that this term computer is So I have added this term to my collection, and then on the right-hand side, I can add descriptions to this term. So you see there's a picture, so I know what a computer looks like. There is a description of this computer word in different languages. And what is also important using this terminology portal is that you can teach the system that, for example, I want a computer to be translated in Russian, not as a computer, but as personal computer. And every time you use this word in your documents, the system will know, in this language, I have to translate it differently than in the other languages. So I can assign all of this in the terminology portal here. And also I can have a discussion with anybody who's involved in the process in the organization about this specific term, which is very often useful when there are a lot of complex terms involved. Okay, so the next feature we will demonstrate and dive into is the website translator. And as mentioned before, I already said that it is an intuitive and synchronized tool that you alone can manage and use to create and update the changes to your content. You don't have to outsource it anymore. So even if you are not IT savvy, like I am, you can just use this tool, and it's extremely easy to do that. In there, you would also have a description step-by-step of how to upload it and access it. Now, for the demonstration purposes, I have chosen our website. So we maintain our website in English. We'll switch to the original Latvian language of the country. And I will log in as an administrator to show you how it works. So here you see that I can just, put my mouse on this paragraph right here, and the system is giving me already an option of whether I want to, suggest or manage translation. So I can edit the text right there on the web page, and it will translate automatically into the languages I'm using on this web page. Now, if it's a larger portion of text, it will be easier to edit it in the text editor over here, where you can go through the headlines and headers and just edit it there. And a very important feature for businesses is the search engine optimizer. So I want to type in any word that I want here so that it comes up in the Google search. So my business comes up in the Google search once it's performed by anybody. So as you can see, it's very intuitive, and it's very easy to maintain, and you don't need to go to WordPress, or you don't need to actually maintain the content of your website on a separate document. Now, moving on into, I already mentioned the communication tools that you can enhance using this technology. In this case, I will demonstrate an Outlook plugin, but there's many more communication platforms that you can integrate into our solution into, so that your communication is done in multilingually instantly. So here you see the instructions, how to access and how to install the feature on your Outlook. Here's just my email. Let's select one specific email and just select this translator feature on the email. Now it will automatically bring up the email, and you can select the language combination that you want. So the email is in Latvian. I would want to translate it into English, and I can see that, okay, now I understand the content and no information lost, no misunderstandings. I can type my answer right there. Just have it translated instantly, and then copy the content and respond to the email. Very fast, very easy to do, and no misunderstandings, no information lost in between. Another useful feature is request human translation. Maybe you have a document that you would still want a human to look at, or you would want a post edit, or you would want linguists to look through the document. So you can actually do it on the same platform, and we will receive your request, and the human will perform it and send it back to you directly. So you don't need to call anybody, you don't need to search for anybody, you just upload it there and it's sent to our translators in-house. There we are, and if you have any questions about this, I will answer it later on at the end of the presentation. But right now, I will give floor to our trusted partner in Switzerland, Paula, who is the CEO of Hieronymus, to actually give you firsthand experience of how it is to manage translations on the legal side. Paula, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you for this very interesting presentation. Of a tool that we know now very well. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit about who Hieronymus is and why we started collaborating with Tilde. So we are, as you said, an LSP, translation by lawyers for lawyers, and actually also for banks and for insurance companies and for some legal departments of corporations, as you can see from our first pie chart here. So our clients, we are very focused, but we still have a very wide base of clients. And when we say 42% of our clients are law firms, it means that actually the end client can be anyone, because mainly corporations, I would say, but sometimes high net worth individuals or yeah, so and they can be in Switzerland, they can be abroad. So the end clients of law firms are very broad audience. What type of translations do we do? Sorry, again. You can see that most customers are in German-speaking Switzerland, and this is going to be very important to tell you why we chose and why we had to create our own solution together with Tilde. So you see that German, it's not Swiss German, which is a dialect, but it's the German, the type of High German spoken by Swiss people, which is different from German from Austria or from Germany. And it's the same for French, and it's the same for our Italian, spoken in Ticino, which is not the same type, or we don't have the same kind of habits or style as Italians from Italy. The type of documents we translate are also very broad. So a lot of language service providers will tell you that law is one topic. As probably audience knows, if you all specialize in legal translation, there is no such thing as legal translation. Translating in a litigation case is very different from translating general terms and conditions. Tax law has its own terminology. Let's not even talk about trademarks and patents. So we are very aware of all the differences that you have in this so-called legal translation. And working with Tilde on that was a pleasure because we really have experts there understanding how important the subtle differences are, especially in the legal field. It can have many implications. So what were our challenges? You all know about the fact that a lot of clients, a lot of people now think that translation is going to be for free for everyone, and that machine translation is better than human translation. That has been said by Google, and a lot of people come to LSPs and say, okay, so now you can probably do it for 1/10 of the price of what you offered before. So you have this expectation from the market for massive reductions in prices, and you have to react. And machine translation is part of the equation now. We need to offer it, and we need to offer it well and well integrated in our processes. So money was certainly the first reason why we started this journey together with Tilde. Then, especially in Switzerland, and especially in the legal sector, and for the banks we're working for, confidentiality is the word in our industry. So in Switzerland, clients even expect data not to leave Swiss soil. So the ability of creating a solution based in Switzerland and that respects those ISO standards, those data security standards, was also very important. And there are not so many partners that are able to start such a journey with you. And this is another reason, as I mentioned, why we chose to work with Tilde, was this understanding that Tilde has about the necessity to make a difference between tax, between banking, between criminal law, between, as I was saying, patent law. Everything is so different, and you need to be able to address it. So there is not kind of one solution for the whole legal translation industry. And last but not least, as I was saying, Switzerland, which is a small country with not so much data available, and you would think, okay, German, French, Italian, there are massive resources out there, but not for Swiss, German, French, or Italian. And so there as well, we needed to find the right partners. The solution that we've been able to develop, thanks to Tilde, was Lex Machina. So this is the first machine translation specialized in Swiss law and the Swiss financial sector, which is an on-premise solution on our servers. And we can, with this system, provide this ISO certification and the ISO standards that our clients expect. We have a full data flow transparency and auditability. Clients are very reassured because we're not hiding anything from them, and they can also dictate their conditions if necessary, and we are able to adapt. The data gathering of Swiss corpora. This is my passion. I became, thanks to this collaboration, very passionate about data. And data gathering and cleaning and curating. And this is essential for the quality of MT. And you need to have experts like yourselves, probably in the audience, people who really know their topic, really know their industry, and are capable of knowing exactly what types of texts needs to be translated, and therefore look for the right data to be able to train your artificial intelligence accordingly. That goes through the creation of domain-specific translation memories, not necessarily the ones that you create for your clients, because those might be confidential. If you're an LSP, you might not be able to use them for training your AI. But you can create translation memories out of non-confidential data. You can gather more data and curate it. And the terminology databases, being able to use this Tilde feature of terminology integration in MT, and automating part of this terminology preparation and integration process. It's very important as well for the quality of the end results. And then this was extremely important to us. It's the possibility for the clients, be it the end client, the lawyer, or the LSP, to constantly improve the quality, really this interaction at many different levels in the solution, where you can really help the machine to become better every day. And this is also something that is lacking in many other solutions, where there is no place in the loop for the client. And so that's why we are particularly happy with our current solution and collaboration with Tilde.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Victoria. It's been a great overview overall of solutions that fit a wide variety of entities, enterprises, companies. Solutions that can fit smaller legal practices, legal companies, to something much more comprehensive when it comes to having things deployed in, like your case, Switzerland, in terms of security and high level of customization. Thank you, ladies. This has been the main body of today's presentation. And before we jump into the Q&A session, as we promised at the beginning, Victoria had a sweet candy to offer to all the attendees that are still with us. Victoria, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Ruben. Actually, to everybody who is participating today and who's listened to the presentation, we want to offer a special discount, which is 30% of your first 3 months of implementing our solution. Now, this offer is, you can subscribe to this offer, you can think about it and discuss with your managers. It's valid till the end of the year. And here you have my email address. So you can email me directly if you have any questions, or if you decide to pursue, we can discuss solutions that are fitted for you. Now, we don't give out offers very often, and yeah, and take me up on my word.
Thank you, Victoria. So yeah, please feel free to contact Victoria for any question, any demo, further demo, or even testing those solutions. It's precisely 41 minutes, so what we were planning for the presentation, and then what we can have a look at the chat to see if any questions have been asked. I see a couple of them in the private chat to the panelists, and some of them in the general chat. I see Gunta asking one to Victoria. Victoria, yes. Security and confidentiality are top priorities for legal companies, especially using such tools. I believe such tools referring to artificial intelligence translations when like confidentiality of documents and so on, it's key. Can you please elaborate a bit more on how you ensure such elements, security, confidentiality throughout those processes?
Yes, of course. Thank you for the question. As I've been telling throughout the presentation, and as Paula has reiterated, security is key of our solutions, and it's extremely important for this industry. Now, prior to developing any systems or giving access to any systems to our clients, we sign an NDA agreement, meaning that we do not use data received before or during the process of our collaboration of the client for anything else but their system. So it's properly legally managed, as well as the hosting and the platform. It's extremely secure. So there's a lot of legal documentation behind it, but also I think an important feature that might be worth mentioning, because we are often receiving documents or using on training systems on very, very sensitive content, and we also have an anonymization tool that can help and facilitate with anonymizing and hiding any sensitive information. So on this front, we are a trusted partner to many of our clients.
Thank you, Victoria. If there's anyone who wants to jump in the conversation, ask live questions, please go ahead. I see that there's a couple more questions from Marta. How does the quality improvement loop work between linguists and engineers? Since this is something that was in Paula's slides. Paula, please go ahead.
Yes, so I didn't get into the details. It's a very interesting question, and the answer is complex because you can do many things. The first thing is that your model is trained on data. So if you see that your machine is not so strong, like let's say, okay, we trained a legal machine, so it's very bad at translating cake recipes. But if there is a need for translating cake recipes, you have to act at the level of the data. So you will have to add cake recipes in the training. But this may take a little bit more time. There is some immediate action that you can take. And there you can use either a dynamic learning approach. So meaning that maybe you have translation memories that you can integrate dynamically with your MT system. This is one way of doing it. And then another way of doing it is to just change the terminology. So add the name of the different ingredients in your terminology, MT terminology, and this will immediately improve it. But it will maybe improve it cosmetically, like putting some makeup, which does not mean that your skin has become better from deep within. And this is about training the data. Then there is a lot of little rules that you can influence, and this is called either pre-processing or post-processing. So before the data gets sent into your machine, you have to prepare it. Victoria showed us how to split sentences, and those splitting rules will change dramatically the results of your MT if the rule is not correct or not adapted to your type of text. Especially in the legal industry, you can have one sentence that is 1 page long. This is going to be a catastrophe for MT. But because you're a lawyer, you know how you can actually split this segment in a clever way that makes sense, and you can create that rule, and suddenly your MT will become a lot better. So just to give you a couple of examples, we're really talking about improvements that you can make at very different levels of the process, and that will improve quality.
Thank you, Paula. You can see Paula in her slides mentioned that she has become quite adamant in terms of data. With this answer, I think everyone saw that. Thank you, says Marta, for the answer. There's another one from Gunta saying, thank you for the answer. Great. Sorry, one more question to Paula. How much have you seen your processes improve in efficiency and rapidness? Because this is something that we talk at the beginning, like precise, fast, and so on. So probably goes towards that topic, the question.
You have so many different use cases, as I've tried to show on my first slide. So there are some situations where it has improved efficiency by a kind of infinite, almost infinite percentage, because now lawyers can really just upload a PDF and download a translation. It's not going to be perfect. So when we say precise, yes, it's going to be precise enough. It's not going to be perfect. We are not saying here, like Google, that MT makes humans redundant. That's not true. But depending on if a client has just received a court decision and they're in a panic because they've seen that they've just lost and they want to understand why, the lawyer can now immediately send a translation of this court decision that was sent by fax, in a terrible condition, and the Tilde converter can deal with that, and they immediately get an answer. They don't need more than that. And so for those cases, the efficiency for the clients is just amazing. Now, when you're talking about something that needs to be reviewed by a human being, we are talking here about articles of association, general terms and conditions, the whole banking documentation for opening of bank accounts, for doing the know your customer, etc. This needs to be perfect, or a fund prospectus needs to be perfect. You can't just rely 100% on machine translation. And here, your question of how much efficiency is brought, it also depends on the type of document. If you have something very repetitive, where you've trained your machine very well, like for articles of association, you can have up to 50% efficiency gains. For other documents, it's going to be less. It can vary really from very little, like 10% for things for which your machines was not trained, or even kind of no efficiency gain at all for the cake recipe I was mentioning. I don't think that our machine can help you with cake recipes. Up to 50%. So and on average, I would say 30% efficiency gains.
Yeah, that's good. And listening to your answer, something also came to my mind, which is the binomial machine and human translation, because this is something that also Victoria, from her experience, maybe with businesses, can jump in. But from one side we have the traditional human translation approach. From the other side we have the machine coming in. I do believe that humans, the first reaction is no to such machine help. But how do we work towards balancing those elements, both for small companies, medium, large? Because I do believe that when it comes to large enterprises, they might have in-house translators, probably. When it comes to a small company, maybe not, but they can also use this kind of solution. So how do we balance that relationship in here between traditional and innovation?
I think that the readiness to adopt the new technology will depends a lot on the degree to which the human being can contribute to improving it. So when you add this loop, when you make space for the linguist in your processes, that makes them happy and it makes the machine better, and they see that their influence is precious, and so it's nice for them too. So it's really the collaboration between the linguist and the machine that makes the whole process successful, I think.
Yes, also from my side, I've noticed that first of all, there's been sort of fears, I guess, maybe from the professional, the translators, oh, the machine is going to substitute us. What are we going to do? But I think at the end of the day, it's still a machine, and it depends on the type of text. There's like so many variables that fall under it. You would still need some human interaction. You would still need people to look through it, maybe do the post edit. So human involvement is going to be still necessary, but probably to a much smarter extent to still sort of follow this digitalization, because we can't do, like, a lot of companies, a lot of industries still lag behind and are very old school. But if you want to fast track your business, if you want to grow, and we need to move forward, and digitalization is key, and partially I think it's going to be on the translation side still for some time. So I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah, probably. The quality element, when it comes to volumes, something that resonated during today's presentation, large volumes of translations and things like this. I see that there's a question that was asked directly to the panelists, and it says, why to pay for translation services when there's also such tool, when there's free tools available on the internet. So probably that's something that applies to both of you, and it comes to the security element, I believe.
Yes, thank you for this question. I think partially, of course, everything available online is not secure. And everything that we've been talking about here, it is providing you this security in the platform. Also, another element that we touched upon and maybe briefly touched upon is the customization, and it's a preparation of the system specifically for you, for your domain, for your subdomain, for your company language, for your stylistic, and etc. So when we actually address that customization, it's like growing baby, like from scratch. So we prepare this engine, we prepare this machine, this AI tool for you based on what you need, and that's one of the main key differences, that we are very adaptable and we listen to the needs of our client by providing this secure and customized solution, and you cannot get that online for free.
And I would also mention the fact of risk management for companies. Free machine translation is very attractive and everyone uses it. Now, they also think, because not everyone is a language talent, they very often, it looks great because the sentence, the grammatical structure is nice, etc. And so they will do it for one sentence, then they will do it for one document, then they will do it for 10 documents. And if you let the whole company use these tools, you can actually take a big risk if it's not integrated in your processes. Because before, people took responsibility for what they were writing. Now people use free machine translation tools without checking, a little bit discreetly or not. Maybe sometimes it's forbidden and they still do it. And integrating a custom-made MT solution with its related processes is definitely, I think, decreasing your risks as a company that things are going to be published online, that's the wrong a really bad translation is going to be provided as if it would have been written and checked by a human being, especially in the legal sector. So, so I think any company should think about risk management because translation with public tools is a risk, and you need to at least address the topic. So that's an important point, I think.
Yeah, and for example, thank you for the question, thank you for the answer, Paula, Victoria. And I always have I work with that thinking that there's nothing for free. You know, we are in a society that we are getting used to have things for free. There's nothing for free. Even what it seems to be free, there's always something that you don't see that you are paying, you know, in terms of data and so on and so forth. But we are approaching the last minutes of today's webinar. I see that there's no more questions in the chat, but maybe as a wrap up, taking into account all what we've discussed and so on, a more generic from my side in here. How do you see technology developments moving forward in general, or in particular, for example, for Paula, with Lex Machina and so on?
Well, I think we're definitely going into more data-focused approaches and really exploiting the data we have to allow the linguist to have more impact on the machine. So it's a game between the linguist that notices that there is room for improvement in one area, and empowering the user to impact the machine. So this is, I think, something from, it's not really technological. It's more a question of process and of really making space and allowing the engineer to work with the linguist. This is what we're focusing on.
And maybe Victoria, from a more generic point of view, being involved in a daily technological process and solution oriented.
Yes, I think the future, again, it depends on the industry. Definitely the future for some industries that are not using it to implement it, and they will start implementing more and more. For the development, machines will become more precise. There's constantly new generations that are developing new features that are being added. And in our labs, you know, we have actual developers that do that. So we see how much progress that can be made. Also, I think development and implementation of speech technologies, which is another part that of our business, is going to become a lot more important, whether it's speech to text, text to speech. It's going to be also the future.
Which can be useful for example, court hearings,
yeah.
For example, in this particular industry.
Definitely. You know?
Good. So let me just have a look at the chat for the last time to see if there's anything else. I don't see anything. It's just we are 2 minutes short of 1 o'clock in Latvia, where we are based, 12 o'clock in Zurich, where Paula is based. Having said that, in your screens you still see Victoria's email address in case you would like to further details, have further questions and so on. If not, thank you everyone for attending today's webinar on machine translation in the legal industry, fast, precise, and secure. And thank you especially also to our two speakers today, Victoria and Paula. Have a nice day.